Hey, what's up, guys? It's kind of late in the evening on a Thursday, so a bit of an unplanned live stream. But with Easter weekend coming up, I thought, we probably won't be streaming on Easter. Pretty sure we won't be streaming on Easter. And there's been a lot of news, and there's going to be more news to cover. So probably Monday, probably Easter Monday, we'll do what would normally be our Sunday stream. But there's a lot going on, including some updates in the case of the infamous Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia. Managed to get it out. But I mean, more so than this particular gang member, MS-13 terrorist, whatever you want to call him, Maryland man. A judicial crisis is truly coming into play here, and we need to talk about it. And we need to understand the fact of this case because the media is systematically lying to the American people about this. We saw the other day there was a great news conference that the Trump administration did to dispel some of these lies, but the media continues to lie. And there is, at this point, no question that the judicial branch and these individual rogue judges are creating a PR campaign to lay the groundwork for an impeachment after 2026, if and when the Democrats take back power in the House or the Senate. No question about it. And so we're going to go over some of these things. And there's also been another case that just developed based on someone from Michigan, in fact, which we'll look at in just a moment. But first, there's been some updates in the Abrego, there's no L in it, Abrego Garcia case. And helpfully, the Justice Department has actually released some of the details of Mr. Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia's arrest in 2019 and the due process he was given, which of course is a prerequisite for all of the things that have happened to him since then. So let's look at that first, shall we? This is, can I make this any bigger? No, I can't. Actually, yes, I can. This is the Prince George's County Police Department gang field interview she'd conducted on March 28th, 2019. And here's where we will learn the background about why exactly this innocent Maryland man, illegal alien, Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia, was apprehended. And here we go. So there's some basic information about him. Straight hair, beard, goatee, mustache. Check. Here we go. On March 28th at approximately 2:27 p.m., Detective Blank with the Hyattsville City Police. By the way, this is Prince George's County, Maryland. So for those who don't know, all of the left-wing limousine liberals that are, judges in this case and rooting for this guy that are in the D.C. area, if they don't live in D.C., if they live in D.C., they live in Northwest D.C. If they don't live in D.C., they live in Rockville, or I'm sorry, not necessarily Rockville, Montgomery County, Maryland. Rockville, Bethesda, Potomac, that whole area. Hyattsville is in Prince George's County, which that whole northeast to southeast area around D.C., Prince George's County, is varying shades of ghetto. The whole area is. And this is not where any of these judges live, I guarantee you. Hyattsville City Police observed 4 individuals loitering in the parking lot at the Home Depot located at this address. As the detective approached the individuals, 2 of them reached into their waistbands and discarded several unknown items under a parked vehicle. All 4 were stopped by police officers. The detective immediately recognized Christian Hernandez Romero, a.k.a. Bimbo, as a member of the MS-13 Sailors Clique. 2 small plastic bottles containing marijuana were located on scene. All 4 individuals were transported back to District 1 for interviews. Member of the Prince George's County Gang Unit MS-13 Intelligence Squad have encountered Christian Hernandez Romero on multiple occasions. He has an extensive criminal history for multiple assault, concealing dangerous weapons, burglary, and many other criminal offenses. He has also been found guilty of gang participation in the Circuit Court for Prince George's County in December of 2018. Officers know Hernandez Romero to be an active MS-13 gang member with the Sailors Clique with the rank of Observacion and moniker of Bimbo. Officers also interview Jose Guillermo Dominguez. During the interview, officers observed tattoos of skulls covering their eyes, ears, and mouth. Officers know these kinds of tattoos are indicative of the Hispanic gang culture. The tattoos are meant to represent ver oi y calar, or see no evil, hear no evil, and say no evil. He also had a tattoo of a devil on his left leg, in which officers know only higher ranking MS-13 gang members are allowed to get a tattoo with the horns. This represents power within MS-13. Officers made contact with a past, proven, and reliable source of information who advised Jose Guillermo Dominguez as an active MS-13 gang member with the Sailors Clique, the rank of Chiqueo, and the moniker Maniaco. Officers then interviewed Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia. During the interview, officers observed he was wearing a Chicago Bulls hat and a hoodie with rolls of money covering the eyes, ears, and mouth of the presidents on the separate denominations. Officers know such clothing to be indicative of the Hispanic gang culture. The meaning of the clothing is to represent, I won't say that in Spanish, see no evil, hear no evil, and say no evil. Wearing the Chicago Bulls hat represents that they are a member in good standing with the MS-13. Officers contacted a past, proven, and reliable source of information who advised Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia is an active member of MS-13 with the Westerns Clique. The confidential source further advised that he is the rank of Chiqueo with the moniker of Chele. Officers interviewed Jason Josue Ramirez Herrera. During the interview, officers were unable to determine his gang affiliation. See, they didn't just assume everyone is in MS-13. This guy, no, he's somebody else. Officers know MS-13 gang members are only allowed to hang around other members or prospects of the gang. They will continue to monitor this guy. He was sent on his way without further incident. The other guys, they all know are members of the criminal gang, which is now officially a terrorist gang. So those are the circumstances of his arrest. And now we have this. This is the record of deportable / inadmissible alien. There is the guy's photo. There's fingerprints have been blotched out or blacked out. Current administrative charges, alien present without admission or parole, which, by the way, since Democrats are constantly claiming that this is not a criminal offense, it is. There's a federal criminal charge. It's not often charged, although it should be. And that may be changing immediately if it hasn't already. But yeah, unfortunately, under other administrations, including the past Trump administration, often this kind of stuff would happen. They would not be charged with the federal crime of illegal entry, although they have, probably because it's hard to prove, even if they are here illegally. But anyway, but it is actually a crime. Criminal affiliation. Suspect has been identified as a member active of MS-13. And again, well, I'm maybe going to ahead myself, but as we said in the past, there was a hearing on this. The government presented evidence that he was a member of MS-13. He did nothing to rebut that accusation. So here we go. Record of deportable alien. On March 28th, they made contact with the suspected illegal aliens. They validated as active MS-13 gang members. Upon arrival, met with task force officer detective. He stated the subject, later identified as Abrego Garcia, Kilmar Armando, and Dominguez, was detained in connection with a murder investigation. A murder investigation. Officers then approached the suspects, identified themselves as ICE officer, and questioned as their citizenships. They freely admitted to being citizens and nationals of El Salvador by birth, and they were in the U.S. illegally. They were not in possession of any immigration documents, and that would allow them to remain in the United States legally. They were arrested and transported to the Howard County Detention Center for overnight placement, and then transported to the Baltimore field office for processing. And then continuing on, he is a citizen and national of El Salvador. He claimed to have walked across the desert for many days, entering illegally into the United States near McAllen, Texas, on or about March 25th, 2012. So he can't claim asylum because he didn't stop in Mexico to claim asylum, for one thing. And also, there's this little bit here. Humanitarian issues. Abrego Garcia claims to be in good health. Abrego Garcia was given the opportunity to make one free phone call. He made the phone call for 5 minutes. He is not claiming fear of returning to his country. Gee, that's funny, because much later on, in this deportation hearing, he had a brand new story that I'm sure his lawyer didn't make up for him. The story was that his mother made the greatest pupusas in town, and that was why a rival gang targeted them for extortion. Oh, wait, did I say rival gang? I'm sorry, I meant a gang. A gang just targeted them for extortion, not a rival gang. He wasn't in a gang. Yeah, anyway. Anyway, so that's this document. So the point being that this guy got more than his fair share of due process. He had a deportation hearing. He had an appeal. The appeal was denied. He was adjudicated to be a member of MS-13 by 2 courts, an organization that's now a terrorist organization. So anyway, the next thing was, in this case, is that the government filed an appeal of the rogue tyrannical judge's decision in the district court case that was to allow the plaintiffs, meaning the terrorist family, to proceed with discovery and therefore go all over sensitive government document records, including national security information. And they appealed it, and it's a very well drafted appeal. I don't have it open for some reason, but anyway, long story short, it's been denied by the Fourth Circuit. This is what just came out today. And this is frankly a travesty from start to finish, but let's go through it here. This is 3 judges, Wilkinson, who apparently is a Reagan appointee, and 2 others. And this is what they say. Upon review of the government's motion, the court denies the motion for an emergency stay pending appeal. That's what they were doing to get away from this rogue, tyrannical judge. The relief the government is requesting is both extraordinary and premature. This is completely untrue. But it goes on. While we request so now this is where, and you'll see this theme in this document. They want to go to great pains to say, we're not tyrants. We're not invading the Article 2 executive branch with these outrageous orders. We're being completely reasonable in this case. In other cases, sure, judges can overreach, but in this case, we're being completely reasonable. They really go out of their way to say that. So they say, while we fully respect the our executive's robust assertion of Article 2 powers, this is all backhanded nonsense. They are absolutely not doing that. They are, in fact, violating the executive's robust assertion of his Article 2 powers. We shall not micromanage the efforts of a fine district judge attempting to implement the Supreme Court's recent decision, which, again, she's not attempting to implement it. She's attempting to violate it. This is absolutely going back to the U.S. Supreme Court, folks. It is difficult in some cases to get to the very heart of the matter. But in this case, it is not hard at all. The government is asserting its right to stash away residents of this country. Really, residents? What kind of residents? Unlawful, illegal, alien, terrorist gang member residents? Illegal aliens who have been adjudicated to be criminal aliens, members of a terrorist gang, in foreign prisons without the semblance of due process that is the foundation. This is, again, materially false information. This is not what the government asserted. The government asserted in its motion that, and also, by the way, in a number of other filings before the court, including these daily reports that this rogue judge has been requiring, that, in fact, he got tons of due process. Further, it claims, in essence, that because he has rid himself of custody, that there's nothing that can be done, which is, in fact, actually true because he's in El Salvador. Donna Patrick says, if all that's true, fine, deport him, but he was sent to a concentration camp until he dies. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. He was sent to a prison in which, by the way, U.S. Senator Chris Van Hollen just visited the guy today. They were actually having drinks at this prison. He looked very fine and in great health. And unfortunately, Donna, the conditions of El Salvador's prisons are not the United States' business. No judge did give him a death sentence. They sent him back to his home country. That is what has happened. This should be shocking not only to judges, but to the intuitive sense of liberty that some Americans far removed from courthouses still hold dear. Donna says no one ever gets out of that prison life. How do you know? And by the way, why is that our problem as Americans? He had, first of all, the opportunity not to come to the United States illegally, not to remain in the United States illegally, not to be a member of the MS-13 gang, not to be arrested associated with gang activity and investigation into a murder, not to stay in the country illegal after being ordered to be deported in 2019, not to continue to remain in the country illegally after the organization, the gang he was a part of, became designated a terrorist organization. America sent him to the death camp. You just keep repeating yourself, Donna. Do you care about the victims of this MS-13 gang? How about the victims of all the fentanyl they import? How about all the sex trafficking, all the women and children being raped and murdered that this violent terrorist gang plagues our country with? This should be shocking not only to judges, but to the intuitive sense of liberty that Americans... Oh, look at that. Americans. Why am I not worried about being deported to an El Salvadorian death camp, as Donna puts it? Because I am not an illegal alien, criminal, terrorist gang member. The government asserts that Abrego Garcia is a terrorist member of MS-13, perhaps and perhaps not. No, that is not for this court to decide. He was adjudicated to be a member of MS-13. Donna says he was under a court order not to be sent to El Salvador. Wrong. He was not under a court order not to be sent to El Salvador. He was given temporary withholding status when he was first deported in 2019 because he said, Your Honor, despite me telling the police at the time that I was not in any fear whatsoever of being deported back to El Salvador, actually, I'm very much afraid of being sent back to El Salvador. Would you please send me any place else but El Salvador? And the government said, as an option, not even a requirement, that yes, we will voluntarily allow you to be part of a withholding program that says you can go anywhere else. You don't have to go to El Salvador. You can go back to any other country in the world. You still can't stay here. You are still deported. But if you say you shouldn't go back to El Salvador, fine. Unfortunately, for Mr. Kilmar, Abrego Garcia, that courtesy goes away when the organization gang that you're a member of is designated a terrorist organization. The courtesy of the withholding does not apply to a member of a terrorist gang. Once you're designated a terrorist, you don't no longer get the courtesy of having the government dump you in some other place but your own home country. There was no court order about this. Regardless, he is still entitled to due process. If the government is confident of its position, it should be assured that the position will prevail in proceedings to determine the withholding of removal order. Yes, it will. it will. That is not the problem. Moreover, the government has conceded that Abrego Garcia was wrongly or mistakenly deported. We've been over this. I'll go over this again. The Biden era holdover lawyer that contended this or conceded this has actually, he was suspended the last time we did a stream. He has now actually been fired. The Justice Department has now fired the lawyer who argued the case of the mistakenly. The only reason the courts are saying there's all these news articles that falsely claim the White House has conceded that he shouldn't have been sent back to El Salvador. No, this rogue lawyer was, and now he's been fired. The Justice Department does not concede that he was mistakenly deported. He was rightly deported. The only issue was they had to have that order terminated first, which is minor. The remedy was if El Salvador wants to send him back, they could send him back, at which point the government would arrest him again. They would tear up the withholding order and send him straight back to El Salvador. This entire exercise is absolutely, utterly pointless unless you understand the real purpose of it, which is to create the grounds for an impeachment of Donald Trump. That's the only reason why they're going through this. That is the one and only reason. Anyway, where was I? I was reading this ruling. Why then should it not make what was wrong right? Because he's in El Salvador now, and they can't. Because that is foreign policy. A court cannot compel the United States to negotiate with a foreign government. They cannot compel the government of El Salvador, although these judges are getting dang close. They're getting dang close to saying, we hereby order the sovereign nation of El Salvador to send this man back so that we can process him and send him right back to El Salvador once again. They're almost to that point. And also because what they did was not wrong. He was designated a member of a terrorist organization. He was adjudicated by two courts to be a member of an organization that Congress gave the executive branch the sole authority of the Secretary of State to designate a terrorist organization. Supreme Court's decision remains, as always, our guidepost. No, it doesn't. They're violating the Supreme Court's decision and lying about it. Supreme Court's decision simply said, unlike the district judge's order, that the government simply had to facilitate, meaning not impede domestically his return, his release from the prison. Not even his return. The Supreme Court, the order that we read on Monday's stream, simply said they had to facilitate, not effectuate, as the district judge said. That decision rightly requires lower courts to give due regard for the deference owed to the executive branch over conduct of foreign affairs. Exactly. You can't order the government of El Salvador to do anything. That would allow sensitive diplomatic negotiations to be removed from public view. Donna asks, "Are you okay with Trump saying build 5 more prisons and Americans too?" Actually, that'd be great for for the poor American corrections officers. If the prisons were under the jurisdiction of the United States, which they would have to be, which would be a completely different case, by the way. You're trying to muddle the issue. That'd be a completely separate story. But yeah, did you see the story about these poor corrections officers in New York who are being constantly under threat of being assaulted or killed by the prisoners because the government of the state of New York cares more about the prisoners than it does about the corrections officers, and their lives are miserable, and the cost of taxpayers is astronomical? Yeah, actually, I am okay with violent criminals not being the enormous, disgusting drain on society. They have a right to due process of law, which this guy has gotten under the laws that we have. Anyway, that would allow sensitive diplomatic negotiations to be removed from public view. Right, of course it would. It would recognize as well that the facilitation of Ray Garcia's return leaves the executive branch with options in the execution to which the courts, in accordance with the Supreme Court's decision, to extend a genuine deference. No, it doesn't. This is exactly what the courts cannot infringe upon, is demanding that the administration take action with respect to their foreign relations. That decision struck a balance. No, it didn't. It said nothing whatsoever. It's absolutely mute about what the courts could compel the executive branch to, because they know the answer is nothing. The Supreme Court says does not, however, allow the government to do essentially nothing. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It requires government to facilitate Abrego Garcia's release from custody in El Salvador to ensure that his case is handled as it would have been had he not been properly sent to El Salvador. No, it doesn't. That is absolutely not what it says. Speaking of this, I want to go to Glenn Greenwald, who I have never, ever said Glenn Greenwald's been wrong about anything as far as I can remember. But man, this case has absolutely broken him. And we're going to see this as we go through this. This is Glenn Greenwald here on X. I think he posted this today or yesterday. This is what Glenn Greenwald says. A few facts, regardless of what side of the due process / deportation debate you're on, raised by Vance. He was responding to J.D. Vance's post. One, the only reason Abrego Garcia case is a controversy is an immigration court blocked his deportation and Trump administration admitted he was mistakenly picked up by ICE. Again, the rogue lawyer that has now been fired put that out there. The administration does not concede that anymore and says that was the mistake. The mistake was this lawyer, not the deportation. SCOTUS ruled 9-0. Thomas Alito said the U.S. must facilitate his turn. Again, Glenn knows what he's doing here. That's why he put facilitate in quotation marks, because he knows that facilitate is a legal term of art, and it does not mean what the average dictionary definition means. It means what immigration courts understand what it means, which is not the same as effectuate. It means not to impede, not to get in the way of. 3, Glenn says, ordinary deportation, sending someone back to their country of origin, are very quick and easy. It's done by a deportation court inside DOJ. Yep. 4, that's radically different than sending someone to life in prison in a third country they have nothing to do with. What do you mean third country? It's its home country. Based on allegations of criminality that are never proven. They were adjudicated. He was a member, and by the way, yeah, for the purposes of deportation, foreign illegal aliens don't have the full rights that Americans do to be adjudicated to be criminals. The fact that he was proven in an administrative court to be a member of MS-13 and to be an illegal alien who never claimed until the last minute that he was an asylee and violated the asylum provision anyway, because if you're an asylee, you have to claim asylum in the first country you're at. You got to apply for it at the port of entry, not just, show up in 2012, live in America illegally for 7 years, and only then, when you're caught in 2019, then assert that you have some right to stay. Donna Patrick says Trump isn't judge, jury, and execution. And funny, Trump had nothing to do with any of this. It was the immigration judge, the immigration judge, and the appeals judge in 2019. Jason Mickelborg, he is an El Salvador citizen, not an American citizen. Deported human trafficking ass. I didn't even mean to click on your comment. Just came in as I was clicking away from Don's. But yeah, exactly. I don't understand why people feel sympathy for these violent gang members who are human traffickers. We should be sympathetic for their victims, not for them. Anyway, going on, Glenn Greenwald here. A Trump-appointed judge in Texas then, based on the SCOTUS ruling, ordered AEA Alien Enemies Act deportation of Venezuelans to El Salvador ceased pending a hearing. No, the SCOTUS ruling in this case was that this is the Boasberg case, the case brought before Judge Boasberg, where the Supreme Court said this is out of your jurisdiction because you filed for habeas corpus in the wrong court. In the Texas, you didn't file it in the Texas court, you filed it in the DC District Court, the U.S. District Court of Washington D.C. because you were judge shopping. The SCOTUS ruling against the radical activist judge because they applied for habeas corpus in the wrong venue. And then he says these aren't quote unquote left-wing activist judges doing this. It's also right-wing judges, the ones most popular among the right, upholding the Bill of Rights. But again, he's completely mangled what these courts are saying, so that's not even accurate. Okay, here's the J.D. Vance comment, which is it's long. I don't need to reread it, but Glenn goes on, and here's where he gets really broken. Given that people who obviously haven't read the unanimous SCOTUS ruling in the Abrego Garcia case, and nonetheless didactically opining on it here, yes, I am. Here are the parts signed by all 9 justices, including Thomas, Alito, Kavanaugh, etc. Here underlines the exact same parts that we went over on Monday's live stream. So here's what this guy writes back. Phil Goodman, whoever that is, most of what you posted is factually wrong. Correct. His deportation was not blocked. Correct. Trump didn't admit the mistake was ICE apprehending him. Correct. Where in the ruling from SCOTUS does it order the U.S. to quote unquote facilitate return, which is what the district judge claimed. Exactly right. It doesn't say it anywhere. This simply doesn't exist in reality. You can't quote the passage with this language. You're making it all up. Exactly. And this is broken Glenn. God, you're stupid. Did you ever hear Glenn Greenwald talk like that? Like, I watch his show regularly. I like Glenn Greenwald. I like his show. I like his reporting. I'm grateful for his reporting. He is broken. When Glenn resorts to just, God, you're a big duty head. And then he says, you obviously haven't read the SCOTUS ruling, which again, we of course have. We went over this in depth on Monday's stream. And here he comes back. You just confirmed every one of my points. You misquoted the ruling. It very clearly states facilitate release, but you claim release somehow means return, as though these aren't two different, entirely different words with different meanings. Your citation further, and list goes on, but you get the idea. He says you look retort these posts. Yeah, exactly. Glenn, you're losing this, man. You're losing this. You willful disregard of goodwill, fact-based kind of information will result in your personal and professional failure. Well, that's going a little far. But this is pretty bad. So then Glenn does this. And again, he said, this is like his retort. He points to this. This is from the U.S. Supreme Court, where the Supreme Court says the United States acknowledged that Abrego Garcia was subject to a withholding order forbidding his removal to El Salvador, and that arrow circle removal to El Salvador was therefore illegal. Again, there's problems here. First off, that does not say that the Supreme Court ordered his return. And secondly, again, this is, as we said on Monday, this is actually misstating what the government says in all of their filings, except for the one by the fired lawyer from the Biden era. It was not illegal. They do not contend it was a crime. It was not illegal. It was at worst an administrative error. And even then, completely irrelevant. Because the administration still has the absolute right to deport a criminal alien member of a terrorist gang. So then he goes, yeah. If you want to crash out on this, I'm not happy to stop. I'm not going to stop you. Not surprised you want to move the goalpost now. It's what every retard losing an argument does. Whatever you think it says, it's not. It's clear what it doesn't say. It doesn't say facilitate return. It doesn't say wrongful detention. And anyway, so yeah, it's sad. But again, guys, the reason why I'm belaboring this point, I should make this bigger. The reason I'm belaboring these points is because this is the false narrative the left is constructing for a future impeachment hoax. And remember, the first two impeachments in the first one were based on hoaxes as well. So that's what they're going for. That's what they're going for here. Facilitate is an active verb. They're going to the dictionary. They're not going to case law. It requires steps to be taken if the Supreme Court has made perfectly clear. Yeah, it's to not impede. That's a step. To get the plane ready to send him back to El Salvador once again, once it comes back, once they have the withholding order deleted. The plain and active meaning of the word cannot be diluted by its construction if the government have it to a narrow term of art. Yes, it can. The meaning that it's supposed to have. We are not bound in this context by definition crafted by administrative agency contained in mere policy directive. No, you're constrained by the precedent that the courts have used up until this very moment when they're trying to rewrite the law. Thus, the government's argument that all it must do is remove any domestic barriers to his return is not well taken in light of the Supreme Court's command that the government facilitate Abriga's release from custody in El Salvador. Again, there is nothing, and they highlight the word release. They highlight the word release. There is nothing the Trump administration can do to facilitate his release. He is not in their control, other than executing foreign policy. And lawyers have been arguing this. Oh yeah, he could just ask the El Salvador government to release him, which he actually did, to which Bukele said no. They can pressure them with sanctions. That's foreign policy. That is the judicial branch infringing on the Article 2 power of the executive. That is the unelected judicial branch infringing on the branch that was elected by the American people, by the whole of the American people, the only branch elected by the whole of the American people. Then they go on to continue to invent the definition of facilitate. And now here again, we go back to their disgraceful attempt to wash their hands and pretend they're not judicial tyrants who are abusing the Constitution. The government is obviously frustrated and displeased with the rulings of the court. Of course, they are. Any sane person would be. Let one thing be clear. Court's rulings are not above criticism. Exactly. They keep us on our toes and help us do a better job. Unfortunately, they have not helped you. Court rulings can overstep, as this one does, and they can further intrude upon the prerogatives of other branches, as this one does. Courts thus speak with a knowledge of their imperfections, but also in the sense that they instill a fidelity to a law that we sorely missed in their absence. Again, this is them saying, yeah, obviously courts can screw up. We're not doing that here. We're not doing that now. And they go on, and this just goes on and on. The knowledge that executive energy is a perishable quality understandably breeds impatience with the courts. Well, it's more than that. It's that you guys are committing crimes against democracy, which had been told for the past many years is treason, is a what's the word? A coup d'état. You are stealing, you are usurping the authority of the executive branch of government, the elected branch of government. And the differences do not end there. Oh, and look at this. Attuned to caution that are often uneasy with the executive branch's breakneck pace. This case has been conducted at breakneck pace. This has all happened in the past week and a half. The reason why foreign policy is the exclusive prerogative of the executive branch is because it happens in real time, and it is fast. And judicial processes are not fast. Plus also because the executive branch is actually elected, and you guys are not. The executive is inherently focused upon ends. The judiciary much more so upon, this is complete bullshit. So let's move on. The executive has enormous powers to prosecute and to deport, yes, but with power comes restraints. If today the executive claims the right to deport without due process, what assurance will there be tomorrow that it will not deport American citizens and then disclaim responsibility to bring them home? Well, for one thing, the rights of citizens. This is the complete slippery slope argument. Well, if you're going to lawfully deport MS-13 terrorist gangs back to their home countries, how does that mean you're not going to just steal law-abiding citizens out of their homes who happen to be Democrats and export them to the North Pole without due process? It's complete utter gibberish. What's this asterisk go to? Just some case. Oh, to a left-wing fake news article. That's what. Trump doubles down on sending American criminals to foreign prisons. Well, again, if it's under the jurisdiction of the United States, like Guantanamo Bay, then there's still Americans on American soil. And what assurance shall there be that the executive will not train its? They'll be on American soil, but they'll be under the jurisdiction of the United States. The threat, even if not the actuality, would always be present, and the executive's obligation to take care of the laws be faithfully executed, which he has and you are not, would lose its meaning. Today, both the United States and El Salvadoran governments disclaim any authority and/or responsibility to return Abrego Garcia because they have none. That result will be to leave matters generally and Abrego Garcia specifically in an interminable limbo without recourse to law of any sort. Well, there's El Salvadorian law, which is not our problem. He's a citizen of El Salvador. He was born in El Salvador. He's an illegal alien that's been deported from this country. He's not on our country. He's not in our country. He's not from our country. He was a violent terrorist gang member in our country. He was a human trafficker in our country. And now he's not. The basic differences between the branches mandate a serious effort at mutual respect. The respect that courts must accord the executive must be reciprocated by the executive respect for the courts. They've shown no respect for the executive. They deserve no respect. This is a constitutional crisis that they are causing. And by the way, so far, virtually no Republicans in Congress have spoken out about this. There have been a few. Mike Rogers has been running for the U.S. Senate for the past 3 days. Where is his statements about this? Usually the law and order stuff is what the Republicans get easily, They struggle with the whole privacy thing, not mass surveilling law-abiding Americans. They really, they'll sometimes talk a good game, but they struggle with, cutting the size and cost of government. They're lousy at talking about gun rights and pro-life issues, typically. But usually the law and order stuff is like where politicians go to get easy votes from the base. Why has Mike Rogers said nothing about this? He's the one that wants our vote for U.S. Senate. He said nothing. Too often today, this has not been the case with calls for impeachment of judges for decisions the executive disfavors. Yeah, because you're committing a coup. And exhortations to disregard court orders sadly illustrate. Yeah, because the orders are unconstitutional. Yeah, it's lawful to disobey an unlawful order. It is unlawful to obey a violative order of the Constitution. It is in this atmosphere that we are reminded of President Eisenhower's sage example. And this is just so disgraceful. Putting his personal opinions aside, he honored his inescapable duty to enforce the Supreme Court's decision in Brad versus Board of Ed to desegregate schools with all deliberate speed, as if there's anything remotely like this. This great man expresses unflagging belief that the very basis of our individual rights and freedoms is the certainty that the president, the executive branch of the government, will support and ensure the carrying out of the decisions of the federal courts. Nothing like this was remotely imaginable in Dwight Eisenhower's time. It was inconceivable that the Democrat Party and every single Democrat politician and every single judge appointed by Democrat politicians would unanimously trample over the Constitution in defense of terrorist, human trafficking, criminal aliens. Unimaginable. And so now the branches come close to grunting irrevocably against one another in a conflict that promises to diminish both. Yes, you are damaging the courts. And I hope Americans are waking up. This is rapidly becoming the number one sole issue of this next election. In fact, I submit to you, because of the absolute unanimity about this, the Democrat Party should here and forevermore be branded from now on the pro-criminal, pro-terrorist, anti-rule of law Democrat Party. That should be the absolutely mandatory 100% of the time, always antecedent to say Democrat Party. Pro-criminal, pro-terrorist, at least say that. Pro-criminal, pro-terrorist Democrat Party. That should be the only way the Democrats are ever described ever again. The unanimously pro-criminal, pro-terrorist, anti-rule of law Democrat Party. And then there's this threat. The executive may succeed for a time in weakening the courts, but over time, history will script the tragic gap between what was and all that might have been. And in time, law in time will sign its epitaph. Yeah, this is a threat. This is a judicial threat to President Trump and the executive branch. This is a coup in progress. And Congress should be impeached. I mean, I said in previous shows, and I stand by it, that it would be smarter for them to simply remove these judges as they have the power under Article 3, because these inferior court judges, and even the appeals court, still an inferior court under Article 3. These courts and these judges are all creations of Congress, and Congress should remove them. And they don't have to necessarily use impeachment as the remedy, but this is so extreme it should be. They should be doing a two-track here. They should be filing articles of impeachment, and they should just be removing them. And again, I'll remind you folks, the Republicans in the U.S. Senate are the ones preventing that from happening. And maybe they would go along with it, but for Murkowski and Collins and McConnell. But Republicans in the Senate should be raising the issue anyway. They should be demanding votes of their colleagues. They should be demanding roll call votes on these things. The U.S. House passed a bill prohibiting these lower courts from issuing nationwide injunctions. The Senate's done nothing on it. And again, because of what? Because of the filibuster? The Democrats will eliminate the filibuster the moment they have the majority. They have campaigned on that. They have screened all of their candidates for that. They have made certain that the two that oppose it, that are gone now, will not be replaced by anybody else that won't oppose it. The Democrats have promised the moment they take majority in the U.S. Senate, they will end the filibuster. So Republicans should just do it now, because all they're doing is allowing the Democrats to control the agenda, allowing the Democrats to block any bill they want in the U.S. Senate for this potentially fleeting moment that the Republicans are in charge of all three branches. If they can get anything done now, they might not ever be able to get anything done again. It is, as we have noted, all too possible to see this as an incipient crisis. It is. But it may present an opportunity as well, yes, to remove these judges. We need to break that. We need to break this taboo, and Congress needs to start checking the executive branch because they are out of control. and this is so vulgar, we yet cling to the hope that it's not naive to believe our good brethren in the executive branch perceive the rule of law as vital to the American ethos. No, they do. They absolutely do. That's why they're challenging these rogue judges and this rogue court. This case presents their unique chance to vindicate that value and to summon the best that is within us while there is still time. I hope the Supreme Court does and smacks the shit out of these fucking rogue judges. I hope they do. So that's where things stand as of today. There will probably not be any more news about this over Easter weekend, but who knows? Jason says, I can't believe the Dems are dying on the criminal rescuing hill. Yeah, but they're counting on the media narrative to take hold because, I don't know, they've been losing the narrative on a lot of issues these past few years, but that's what they're counting on. That's what this all that media blitz is and all these crazy news articles. Look at this one. Here's one in the Detroit Free Press. Here we go. Kilmar Abrego Garcia deportation to El Salvador could happen to any of us, says Barbara McQuaid. I forget who she was serving under. Probably liberal. Certainly liberal, but who knows if she served under multiple administrations, but certainly she's a Democrat. So first they quote the Martin Niemöller famous poem, First They Came for the Communists, and I did not speak up because I was not a communist. So begins a poem written by Martin Niemöller, a German pastor who initially supported the Nazi Party and later spent 8 years in concentration camps. His words should resonate today as President Donald Trump pushes the limits of his authority to deport immigrants. What kind of immigrants? You mean lawful permanent residents? Oh no, you mean gang banging, drug dealing, human trafficking, illegal alien immigrants. First, they came for the drug dealing, gang banging, illegal aliens. I did not speak out because I was not a drug dealing, gang banging, illegal alien. This case creates a danger for every American. I'm not sure if it's U.S. attorney. I helped enforce immigration laws. I bet you didn't. But we were committed to doing so lawfully. Honoring the rule of law requires obeying the orders of the judiciary. Look at how these, again, this is the legal priesthood, folks. This is the legal priesthood, including the attorneys. And this is a problem the legal profession in general has. They view themselves as above the lay people. We obey the orders of the judiciary, one of three co-equal branches of the government that checks the others. Yeah, they're actually supposed to be the most inferior. That's why the legislature's Article 1, the executive's Article 2, the judiciary's Article 3. Allowing the executive branch to flout court orders that are unconstitutional, unlawful, undermines the legal processes that protects all of us. And if we permit lawlessness and deportations, I'm not going to belabor this. We've already belabored this quite a lot. The Maryland man, he's actually the El Salvador man. He's the illegal alien, drug dealing, gangbang, human trafficking terrorist. And this goes on. Anyway, you get the idea. Then first they came for the drug dealing terrorists, then they came for the gangbanging terrorists, then they came for the, go on with this. But anyway, this is not the only story I was going to cover tonight, folks. We got another one for you. Let's get to this. This came out actually last week, but I missed this until just recently. This is from Michigan. Same story in Michigan. Well, same story. We'll see. Ypsilanti advocate named as man killed by police after chase on Pennsylvania, Ohio turnpikes. Wow. Some chase involving two states, right? I'm sure this guy is every bit the saint as Kilmar Armando Abrego Garcia. Let's see what this story is about. Remembering Deshaun Leith. Deshaun Leith. A GoFundMe has raised more than $1,000. Now it's raised more than $15,000. An Ypsilanti man, known for his advocacy work for at-risk youth, was reportedly shot by Pennsylvania state troopers Friday. He wouldn't be a career criminal, would he? He wouldn't have like 10 convictions for like breaking, entering, and larceny, would he? An Ypsilanti man known for his advocacy work and for at-risk youth. I'm sure this is the full story we're getting from MLive. Deshaun Dante Leith, 30, was fatally shot by Pennsylvania State Police after April 4th after he crashed a stolen Ohio State Highway Patrol car on the turnpike, according to police. Wow. What a strange incident. I'm sure the stolen Ohio, the reason why he was in a stolen police car crossing state lines was because of a white supremacist cop that somehow compelled him to steal his car. Let's see what the story is. Leith was the founder and executive director of Underdog Nation, a nonprofit focused on serving Washtenaw County children who may be impacted by community violence. I'm in Washtenaw County, folks, the most liberal county in Michigan. We're full of groups like these. From early on, I could see something really special Sorry, let me make this bigger. Like this very bright fire shimmering within Deshaun, said Melvin Parson, executive director of We the People Opportunity Farm. Leith was an intern at the farm in 2021. I saw a very bright fire. Was it the wonder whose fire that was. Leith was fatally shot around 6:05 p.m. after he allegedly assaulted an Ohio State trooper and stole the trooper's car. According to allegedly, I'm sure this is just these outrageous racist cops trying to spin this story. He allegedly assaulted a cop and stole his car. The trooper had responded to a single vehicle rollover crash on the Ohio Turnpike when the man who walked away from that crash began assaulting the officer, according to the reporting from Penn Live. I wonder if Penn Live and M Live are affiliates. The officer used a taser, but the man, later identified as Leith, jumped into the officer's marked police vehicle and sped east into Pennsylvania with the overhead flashers on. Pennsylvania State Police gave chase before stopping the car, which flipped and landed upside down in a pull-off area on the turnpike. So he's now flipped two vehicles in the span of 30 minutes. When Pennsylvania State troopers approached the car, an altercation ensued, during which the man was fatally shot. Wonder why that would have happened. Racist cops shooting an unarmed black man. Obviously, this is the full story. No Pennsylvania troopers were injured, although the Ohio officer was treated for minor injuries. Pennsylvania State Police confirmed Leith was the man involved, according to a Wednesday afternoon relief. Several troopers have been placed on administrative leave during the investigation. And let's not understate what a fine pillar of the community in Ypsilanti Deshaun Leith was. He was the father of a daughter. Oh, are we all the father of a daughter? No, I was thinking, like, isn't everyone's father? No, he has a daughter. Congratulations. You have knocked somebody up and had a daughter. Congratulations on not having the abortion. That's one thing you got going for you. Found Underdog Nation in 2021, shortly after he was released from prison, according to information on the nonprofit's website. He was previously incarcerated after pleading guilty to 8 home invasion charges and 2 larceny charges. Oh, okay. So he is a career criminal. He was discharged in 2023. Time to turn his life around. He was not beaten down by his time in prison. Obviously not. He served such a short time there. You don't have this desire to be different. You kind of give in, Parson said. And Deshaun was the polar opposite of that. His desire was to rise above, not only to rise above for himself, but to rise above where he could reach back and impact other folks. He had more crimes to commit, folks. He had more crimes to commit. He wanted to turn to something he destroyed into something good. His family's life. He's going to do some more crimes and make things all better. Then the then 26-year-old told to M Live during his internship at the farm, I see people coming home wanting to do better, Leith said. When I see someone just terrible, do something positive, it's a consistent thing, they gravitate towards it. He's a changed man, ladies and gentlemen. He's a changed man. He joined the board. He's a board member of the We the People. We the People. It's a conservative group, right? Patriotic group. The We the People Opportunity Farm in 2024. He was also part of a coalition of other nonprofits, Supreme Felons, perhaps, maybe, focused on empowering people in Washtenaw County. When Kiyoshi Shelton, the community engagement director of the nonprofit YB Men Project, was searching for others to join an advocacy coalition in the area, he kept hearing Leith's name. A lot of us know Deshaun for always having a big heart, desire, and passion to support the youth, Shelton said. Leith organized basketball events for area children. Oh, he likes kids, does he? Well, good. I'm sure it's good that kids are around this guy, as well as a workshop to support the mental health of black men. We shall see. He is an exemplar. When we see the police video, which we're going to see, we'll see what an exemplar of mental health for black people he was. When he spoke, I felt the authenticity in him, Shelton said. He was thinking. He was real about it. He had a big heart to help. Alicia Dyer, the pro-criminal social worker, Washtenaw County Sheriff with 0 police experience, said in a message on her social media that the sheriff's office has been rocked by the news. They were rocked by the news, guys. They were shocked. Well, I don't know if she's actually speaking for all the police in Washtenaw County, at least in the sheriff's office. If even that, I think she's just speaking. She herself, Alicia Dyer, social worker, no police experience whatsoever, was rocked by the news. Like so many in the community, we are left in shock with unanswered questions and profound sorrow. How did this happen, folks? How did this guy possibly, what happened? His loss will be deeply felt by the young people across our county whose lives he touched. No matter who you were or what you had been through, Deshaun showed unwavering compassion and care for everyone he worked with. His family described him as a man of unwavering faith, deep compassion, and powerful purpose. We shall see this powerful purpose at work in just a moment. He was a protector, a mentor, And a visionary, always standing in the gap for those who need encouragement, guidance, or simply someone to believe in them, the family wrote in the GoFundMe. His passion and generosity touched countless lives, and his absence is deeply felt by all who had the honor of knowing him. Who had the honor of knowing him, ladies and gentlemen. Would you like to have the honor of knowing this guy? I sure would. Let's go to the tape, and let's see what you and I have been missing out on in our lack of knowing Mr. Deshaun Leith. So here we go. Let me put this stream up here. And yeah, here is the Deshaun Leith that we all did not have the honor of knowing. Fortunately, thank God this happened in Pennsylvania, not in Michigan. But here we go. He's got a flipped over car.
Come on, buddy. Step away. The devil, big step away. Step out, big step away. You a devil. What's going on, man? What's going on? In the name of Jesus. In the name of Jesus, watch out. In the name of Jesus.
He's already assaulted the cop.
Watch out, get hurt. You're going to get hurt.
He's already throwing punches.
Hey,
okay, this is already physical.
Don't touch me, you're going to die. Next time you touch me, you're going to die. Next time you touch me, you're going to die.
Turn around. Put your hands behind your back. 5-team Cleveland.
So he's already assaulted the cop multiple times. Battery, that is.
Send me another unit.
Assault and battery.
Going down the berm.
Watch the call back up. Oh, it's coming back. It's coming back. What's going to happen next?
Hey, you got to go down.
You ain't dead.
But now he tases him. Body camera.
That's Jesus, bitch.
Okay, so now right here already, there's a real big problem, which is that this officer is using a taser rather than a firearm. Because at this point now, as you can see here, as with the case of Officer Schur and Patrick Lyoya, a case which, by the way, goes to trial in 10 days, and we will be covering that case in gory detail and doing everything in our power to help this poor, hapless police officer get his life back and be exonerated. The reason why this cop is not gunning this guy down, as he has every right to do at this point, is because of the case of Officer Christopher Schur in Michigan and cases like his. The reason why this cop isn't shooting this violent suspect who is putting his life in direct personal danger, and they're on a highway. If he throws him into traffic, that could kill him. So he is facing a deadly force threat unequivocally. His hand is on his taser. This cop should right now be drawing his handgun and shooting this guy down until the threat is neutralized, because that is what you absolutely have the right to do in the law of self-defense. There is imminence. It's happening right now in the moment. He is innocent. This guy started the fight. It is proportionate because the guy's threatening to throw him in the street or steal his taser and kill him with either one of those two means. He does not have a duty to retreat whatsoever. And this is absolutely a reasonable case to use deadly lethal force in self-defense. Why is the cop not doing it? Because he's afraid of going to prison for the rest of his life because of the lynch mob that is targeting police officers, especially, and white people in general, like Kyle Rittenhouse, targeting people that use firearms in self-defense. So because of that, this officer's life is in danger in this very moment, and he can do nothing about it. So let's go. Let's see what happens next.
Jesus, bitch. Oh,
His punches connect with the cop. They're connecting. This is a fight to the chest on the highway.
Jesus. Okay, let's take him out.
Hey, Donna, you like your tax dollars paying for this guy's incarceration? Fortunately, they won't, because he ended up being shot to death in the confrontation that ensued after he stole the police car. But if he had survived the experience, which usually they do, then your tax dollars get to pay for him to go to a luxury prison for the rest of his life. Or less, maybe he'll get back out and reoffend again and endanger more innocent people's lives.
All right, listen how strong Jesus is. Go ahead. Listen.
Get down on the ground now.
Lay down.
Still trying to handgun.
I'm strong in you. I'm a Jesus lover. I'm a Jesus lover. I'm a Jesus lover.
I'm a Jesus lover, folks.
Oh, my Jesus lover, that's done. Listen, we playing with you. So listen.
Okay, so now.
Hey, bro. Hey, get him. Let him have that shit, dog. You stop believing. Come on, bro.
I was talking to somebody else who's pulled over at the scene, watching him assault the police officer.
Real shit, my nigga. Real shit, dog. Please don't shoot him. I got it.
You're saying?
Come on, man. Come on, dog. I want to see him, bro. Come on, dog. Leave, bro.
He's trying to talk the guy into stealing the police car with him. Here's the sirens coming. What's he gonna do?
And then you start the car.
Okay. Now the witness is getting the heck out of there. Tito's what's about to happen. You guys scream police. Slam the gas. To the police radio.
I'm okay. I was
Probably 190 by now.
The devil off the radio. Play that good gospel music.
Probably going 150 by now. Look at those.
In the name of Jesus.
Speed.
Thank you. Hey,
Anyway.
car.
This goes on for a while. I'm not going to watch the rest of the video, but you guys get the idea. So yeah, in the mass media, this guy who ended up dying in a confrontation that could have easily killed a police officer, could have easily killed any number of other people on the road. He apparently is it's unfortunately tragic, according to the Washtenaw County Sheriff, that we have lost him. And fortunately, his family has raised $15,000 for his memorial, or probably their lawsuit against the Washtenaw. Well, it didn't actually happen in Washtenaw County. It happened in Ohio. So fortunately, Michigan taxpayers are not on the hook for that guy. So there you go. But anyway, folks, yeah, this is, again, why from here out, we should always be showing people that the Democrat Party, categorically, with no exceptions, is the pro-criminal, pro-terrorist party, because you will not hear one word from any Democrat that, like, it's good that guy is gone and will no longer be able to threaten another human being. And ditto for Patrick Lyoya, who's the officer that unfortunately had to put him down because he was fighting for control of his deadly weapon, and the officer won that fight to the death. But that officer is now facing a murder charge in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and has a trial coming up in 10 days, where the racist BLM agitators will do everything they can to descend on Grand Rapids, to poison the jury, and to try to convince them that they must acquit. They must convict this officer of murder and put him away. They are literally, this is literally like a lynch mob. They are trying to destroy this person, where we could easily be killed in prison, of course. You know, a cop going to prison for life, easily. And like a lynch mob, they're bragging about it. If they convict him, they'll be telling they'll be quoting to the whole world about it. They'll be just like the lynching postcards. They are literally the modern day equivalent of a lynch mob. That is what they are. And everybody in Michigan, including me, should be speaking out about this. And I'm happy to. I'm going to be doing a lot more of that in the next 10 days. Because what's happening to these people is a travesty. These people meaning these poor police officers. And it's time we confront the crime, the terrorists, and the abuse of the legal system. Because it was rogue judges in Michigan in the state court system that are the reason this guy's on trial at all. Because everything in the Lyoya case was on camera. We'll be looking at that a lot this next week. Because the video camera, just like that footage we just watched, completely exonerates the cops. Completely exonerates him. And yet they have destroyed this man's life. He'll never be able to work again. He will be lucky if he is acquitted. And even still, he could then, they're also suing him civilly. So he'll have his life destroyed by legal fees. And it's time that people stand up and oppose this. And I'll tell you what, guys, when we had 3 candidates running for state chair of the Michigan Republican Party, I got the privilege to ask the 3 of them at a candidate forum, Jim Runstead, Michonne Maddock, and Joe Sella, will you speak out about the Officer Scher case? And only one candidate said yes, and that was Jim Runstead. And I think he will. I'm going to hold him to this, but I think he will, because he knows this. He knows this is, first of all, it's a winning issue anyway, but second, it's the right thing to do, because it's time we stop being bullied and browbeaten into silence by these radical leftist lunatics and stand up for ourselves. And I'm grateful to the Trump administration for all the other things I've been complaining about. I'm so glad they are not going to allow themselves to be bullied and browbeaten and lied about on the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. I can't say his name without stuttering. Sorry. But this has to come to a head. And frankly, this is the cause right now. That case is going to the U.S. Supreme Court. I hope they do the right thing. What if they don't? What if the U.S. Supreme Court orders the executive branch on matters of foreign policy? What then? Then we have a constitutional crisis, ladies and gentlemen. And if we don't confront this, we are going to die by it. So, and by the way, again, they're all in, folks. Here's Mallory McMorrow, like every single Democrat.
Donald Trump is openly defying the Supreme Court.
Liar. We don't call out these lies, they will stand, they will stick. This is the thing that every Republican should be talking about to every voter in Michigan and the whole country, frankly, from here out, at least for the foreseeable future, the next election cycle. This is the defining issue. So it is the rule of law versus the pro-criminal, pro-terrorist, Constitution-destroying Democrats. Wow, that was a long show. No, it's not a long show. It's a 1 hour show. Okay, that wasn't bad. All right, guys, we will call it there for tonight. No stream Sunday, possibly one Saturday, depending how events develop, and then probably one on Easter Monday or something like that. Or if you're tuning in on a late night on a Thursday, thank you guys. Appreciate you guys watching. Please hit that like button. Share this out. Barry says they didn't know anything about this case. Great work. Thank you, Barry. Appreciate it. Again, folks, a lot of people don't know about this case. I didn't know about this case till today. We all heard about it through some process of someone else talking about it. So please share the video. Like the video, comment on it. That helps too. And share the video. And let's get this going far and wide. That'll do it for us for tonight. Happy Easter Sunday. And, one thing about Easter is it's a time to remember that that there's always hope. In times of absolute utter darkness, there's always hope, guys. That's what the resurrection message is all about. So, yeah. Until next time, guys, thanks as always for all you do for liberty. And just checking the Rumble chat there. No Rumble chat tonight. Until next time, peace.